Kids, good evening. This is my vlog for January 29th, 2013. And how are you tonight? Now, I've been doing a lot of vlogs about, quote, my life, and that's an ongoing situation. It's not going to stop. But tonight, you know what? Fuck my life. My life has been kind of good this last week or 10 days. Did you just see that orb go by that way? Sorry, that way. Um, Lots of orbs, lots of activity in my house still. Since I got these two cats, I've had a lot of spiritual activity, and the gatekeeper brought home some new pet beds. So now I have like all these new pet beds laying around everywhere in my house. So imagine my surprise today when I was sitting here. Now, I slept in, I got up, I had some coffee, I checked my Facebook, I checked, the normal things I check online, and I noticed that one of the pet beds elevated off the ground to about shoulder height, right in front of my face, right in that little like space, for those of you who've been to my house, between where I'm at now and my office, which is glassed off, has no air, no windows open, nothing, totally still. And that little, what could be a dining area or could be whatever, where the dog beds usually hang out, the new dog bed elevated all the way to my shoulder height, and it sat there. So then I went outside and I touched it just to make sure I wasn't hallucinating, because I do hallucinate. But this was actually way up there. And then it hovered there for a good 2 or 3 minutes, and then it finally dropped back down. And I thought to myself, what the fuck? Why do that? What was the point? It didn't like move, it just lifted up and went back down. So lots of activity in my house. And my house, as most of you regular viewers know, is haunted as hell. And I like it that way. Plus the fact I'm nuts. I'm completely nuts. So besides the paranormal, I see the abnormal. That's due to my medication. And I'm coming down off a very strong blast of medication, which I've been on for about a week. And now I've been off it for 2 days, so I've been coming down. And I've been sleeping a lot as I've been coming down off of this. And it's not a psycho, it's not it's not a drug for my mental issues. It's actually an anti-inflammatory for my psoriasis issues. And it brought down my psoriasis here and here and here. And it's calmed it down here a bit and here a bit and on my knees and everywhere I have psoriasis. So I do this about once every 2 years. It wasn't quite as effective as I had hoped it would have been this time, but my body's gotten used to it after so many years, because I take this drug every other day. But I only do a blast of it every 2 years. Now, 2 years ago when I took it, I went absolutely, totally psychotic. And ate smoked salmon and stuff and had really weird dreams for the whole week I took it. Now, interestingly enough, as I was taking my blast of this medication, my best friend was taking a blast of the same medication for a totally different reason. And this drug is an anti-inflammatory, which is also used as an anti-cancer drug. So it's very strong, and it really fucks with you good. And it fucks with your mind really good. And I sat down and I had a 2-hour conversation with him before he took the first pill, and I said, this is what you can expect. Now, knowing me for 23 years and knowing what a nut job I really am, he thought that he wouldn't be affected like I was. And lo and behold, oh yeah, he went for the whole ride, baby. And this particular drug, and if you could look it up, it's called prednisone. It's an anti-inflammatory. And it's also used for cancer and all kinds of other things. Now, I don't have cancer, but psoriasis is an autoimmune disease, which is an inflammation. So that's why I take it. And it is one of the leading causes of psychosis in nursing homes for old people. It's a drug that really screws with your mind along with your body. So I told him about the whole trip that he was going to go through from beginning to end, And he kind of discarded about half of what he really thought he was going to go through, thinking it was just me. But I got a call about 6 hours after he took the pills, and lo and behold, he was on the roller coaster. Fortunately for him, he took a super, super strong dose, which only lasts 4 days, as opposed to the strong dose that I took that lasts 7 days. But then again, I'm on it long term every other day. So that made for an interesting week indeed. But the one thing that was good was it broke through for him revelations. Now, I've often talked about um, being misdiagnosed at a very young age for things I didn't have, and how freeing that was to me. Because when you tell somebody that they're crazy, or that they're different or incapable or whatever, you have this now freedom to act any way you want to act and do anything you want to do. And being misdiagnosed at a very young age, um, you couldn't tell me anymore. I was free to get my crazy on and do whatever the hell I wanted because I had a built-in excuse. And I lived a very productive life. I worked for 37 years. I did everything I ever dreamed of doing. 17 years in airline management. I drove a truck. I was a massage therapist, a Reiki master. Um, I worked in insurance. I mean, I did everything you can imagine wanting to do in a lifetime. And finally, it came to the point where I was actually diagnosed with something that I couldn't work anymore. And that was shocking to me because I was a workaholic and it was hard. But I set myself up well as far as life went because I worked so hard during my working years. I would work 7 days a week, no questions asked, or anything. And I was very lucky to be adopted into a decent family. And I was lucky enough that they died young, all of them, thankfully. And so I'm kind of like cool with all of this. Now, I could be very upset or very bothered by it, but what good would it do me? When I first went through this whole change like a year and a half ago, when I was first diagnosed and they first medicated me, I lost my mind. I checked myself into the hospital twice, and I fought tooth and nail because this wasn't going to beat me, and this wasn't going to be my reality. And and these drugs that they put me on really changed a lot about me. And I had totally lost my memory for a year. Literally, I can't remember things that happened a year ago. I had to ask what happened last Thanksgiving, last Christmas, last New Year's. I had no recollection. I didn't start, I haven't really started recognizing things until recently. And even then, it's sketchy because for the first year, people put you on these, like, psychotropic drugs. Um, your mind just goes. And it's affected my short-term, long-term, and medium-term memory. And that's why I've been making that series of my life. And I'm going to get more in depth with that. Um, but I'm going to start talking about really personal, painful things that most people won't be interested in. But today I just wanted to talk about like life in general. Life is going great. And I got a big flattery today. Now, I don't normally think of myself as like sexy or attractive or desirable. Um, I think of myself as unique, odd, funny sometimes, but weird. Never like hot. Never have. although I can turn it. And trust me, when I was a whore, if you could make $1,000 in a day cash, you're obviously doing something right. So I can't say I'm ugly and hideous, but I really have never thought of myself as being attractive and hot. So, all that being said, meanwhile, today someone found me threatening to someone they cared about. And it never even crossed my mind. Um, and I didn't know how to react at first. It was weird. It was flattering. It was interesting. It was odd because I just don't think of myself that way. I live a very quiet life in the country. I have 7 animals. I've had the same gatekeeper for 8.5 years. I live kind of a very quiet, reclusive life. Uh, you know, unless they let me out of my cage to go play with the ghosts at Walmart or something, I really don't get out that much. So it was interesting and it was kind of fun. And it reminded me of something that I have lived this really unique life. I've traveled a lot of the world. Um, I am an exceptionally nasty cunt when I need to be, and I can be really rude, and I can be very cutting, and I can be very nasty and horrible. And people don't normally think of me that way. People normally think of me as very zen, very loving, very giving, very whatever. And that is true of me. I am very much that adopted child syndrome kind of guy, but I can also like turn it off in a second because mama taught me how to be an ice queen. So I have that yin and that yang. Um, and I got to see both of those sides of me today, which was really like uplifting. Um, the other thing I wanted to say was when you bring new pets into your life or objects from other people's houses, remember something. They bring energy with them. And I've not only gotten 2 new pets, but Gatekeeper's been bringing in objects from other people's places lately. And being an unwilling medium and intuitive and psychic, um, I've been seeing a lot of stuff and having to deal with a lot of new energies and entities that I was not familiar with. And it's an interesting study because at one point you have to question whether A, it's just you going through a drug pattern because I was going through a drug change, or B, it's the paranormal which you're used to, or C, it's reality. And um, as I've gotten used to dealing with the normal, the abnormal, and the paranormal, I'm beginning to tell the difference a lot better, which is making me at least not feel so totally uncontained as I was, let's say, a year ago, which I was totally uncontained. Um, but yet it still harkens back to um, memory and being able to remember things. So a lot of times I like to take a moment like I am today, or take 14 minutes like I am today, and change, and kind of mark down a moment in my life where I've gone through something, which I just went through this like whole medical thing for like 10 days, and how I'm getting back to quote as normal as I ever get, and um, also let you know some of the really interesting things that are going on in the paranormal world in my life, because there is a huge amount of activity going on at my house right now. It is absolutely huge. Now, whether it's the cats or the new, you know, belongings that have been coming into the house, or the fact that I was on and then now off a lot of extra medication, which opened me up even wider. The fact remains, these things still occur. And for those of you that watch my videos often, you've been seeing a lot of orbs lately because I've gotten feedback from you. And sometimes they've been so distracting, I've been seeing them as I make the films. Um, there's all these orbs going on. And it's not just orbs, because I just saw one flying, which you couldn't see in the camera, which was about this big. I mean, literally this big. It was like taken off. So, and then there's full body apparitions, etc., etc. So those are some of the things I wish one day I will be able to catch on camera for you. Full body apparitions are great, especially when they jump out of the grass and run after you while you're mowing the lawn. You just don't get better than that as far as paranormal. Anyhow, kids, it's been nice talking to you. Hope you have a nice week, and I'll see you soon.